guys, we don't use anything in the product that's not EU approved for the last 20 years. Our main competitor is factory farm chicken, which is 65 to 70% of the world's protein, of the world's chicken. So it's like on one side you have protein extraction process and a high heat kind of process, which kind of turns your, these ingredients into a texture that matches chicken. On the other side, you have an acceptable rate of hormones, antibiotics,
not exactly
an allowance of fecal contamination. So it's your trade-off. So that's what we're competing against.
I'm Farah Shammas. Welcome to Hotel Talk. We hope you enjoy listening to this friendly conversation between people connected by real life in hotels. Welcome back to Hotel Talk. I'm really excited because today I have with us a very interesting gentleman who I'm going to get to know alongside you guys as the listeners, who is the CEO of Mighty Kitchen, which is a vegan, plant-based, meat alternative brand that is growing. Every time I look in a supermarket freezer, I see something else they're doing. George Vou is with us. He's the founder. I can't wait to hear more. So, Yorgo, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Farah. Yeah, really nice to be here.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And it's funny because we were just saying just before, it's the first time we're actually meeting each other as well. So it's not
and so
no prep.
This is the first, guys. So let me tell you something about Hotel Talk. Hotel Talk, what brings everyone together on this podcast is that I've met everyone in a hotel. It doesn't have to be St. Raphael, but a hotel somewhere. And that's what's so interesting about this industry. And obviously the podcast takes place in a hotel. Yep. But this is
technically
the first
we've
time,
kept it out though. Because
yes. And we're meeting because of a hotel, because we're going to be in Amara at the end of the week doing an event for the Cyprus Diaspora Forum, and now we're in the hotel.
But
this was like, okay, and then obviously I know some of your team, I know Mallory, and I've known your company for a while, so we've been in touch, I think, over social media. But this was like, okay, we're going to meet end of the week. Let's do something and release it same week. So usually on Hotel Talk, I release, 4-8 weeks after we record. Okay. So this is like, we're recording now, guys. It's Monday, and you're going to be listening to this midweek, Wednesday, Thursday.
Pressure. We have to do a good job.
Not a lot of editing. So I'm really excited. So George, I want to learn quite a lot about you, but let's start with Mighty Kitchen. Yeah. Let's dive in. Your company. What is it? How did you decide to do it? And what's your vision?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the intro, and it's great being here. And just the whole process of Mighty was. I'll do a little background of me. I mean, I've been in sole entrepreneurship kind of for the last 12, 13 years. I was in web and mobile tech before, and about 6 years ago, I finished up with my last company. I had gone vegan 4 years before that or so. And so I was
you've been vegan for
since 2014, 2014 I cut out meat and fish, and then the next year vegan. So it's my 10-year anniversary.
Yeah.
So, well, now 225. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those periods in your life, where you're at this crossroads. What do I allocate my time to next? And I really wanted to. I always try and mix passion with work, and I was getting to that point where I was really thinking, how do I do this in the best way possible? And I scanned around. I kind of had a look at where I felt the opportunities were in the market, and by chance, I was in the States at the time, and I just tried Beyond for the first time when it was at the Whole Foods in Boulder in Colorado.
Yeah, when it was launching.
And exactly, it was probably the first time they did a live demo, and because it's a bit more affluent, that I got the chance to try it there, and I just thought, wow, this is interesting. Yeah. And when my curiosity gets piqued, I start poking around, seeing maybe we could create that. And it took a while, to be honest. It's not like at the time there were probably 100 people in the world that understood how to go about this kind of business.
And Beyond had the biggest launch on the stock market.
Yeah.
I think it was 20 years, and in 20 years it was the biggest.
It was at the time. Just first, the opportunity was okay, because I believe, again, I mean, when I say opportunity and kind of passion-wise, it's how can we kind of give momentum to a movement or a space that I believe in? And I felt that there are many different ways. Sometimes it's going through helping people, cook at home, recipe books. Sometimes it's online platforms, marketplaces. For me, it felt what's it called, a protein wise. There were many kind of traditional forms. Obviously, we have like beans and we have tofu, but I felt like it's just one of those. I love the idea of the analog because it gives you an easy way, and it also helps a lot at that transitional phase where you're like, I want to ditch meat, but I still want the taste, I want the protein, and so I went into this process of kind of just trying to put together the team and get the knowledge base in house, and within a couple of years after that, we ended up founding Mighty. Like that's the short story. There's a lot of in-betweens.
And the name, where did the name come from?
So there's an argument between me and my wife. Like she says she came up with it. I think we liked at the time, to be honest, we were talking about.
I'm already voting for your wife. I'm already saying it was her.
On a technicality.
It must have been her. It always has to be the wife. Just go with that.
Yeah, we'll just say, like, give her credit for it. But it was something along the lines of a lot of the naming was, impossible. It was beyond. It sounded like strong because at the time you're going up against like a very strong industry and you want it to be something that matches it. And because protein is related to like we build muscles and it's strong.
Yeah.
And then she said something about technically almighty something, and I said, yeah, it sounds a bit, and she says I said that, but then mighty came from almighty, and it was like the mighty, but then we wanted it to be the mighty kitchen because you mentioned we're a plant-based meat company, but we're actually morphing out now to a plant-based protein company, so we're making a bunch of other products that can capture
try some of your products. I was one of the first.
So we're doing different things now. But it's good. Yeah, that's where it kind of
I'll be like,
came
spoiler alert, the best gaffery is coming
you tried
to the
that
market.
stuff as well, like the secret stuff.
Yeah, the secret stuff. It was good. And I actually, I don't eat, or I've never eaten cheese. So I had this on another podcast with Pan Dragomir. She's like, what, Gotti? What are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, sorry,
so
I just never liked it.
So you don't have the casein addiction anyway.
So I never had the casein. So that was why it was quite easy for me actually to do the vegan jump because I wasn't addicted to cheese. But now I feel so bad when I go to someone's house and they're like, oh, you're vegan and we've made you, I don't know, like a vegan lasagna. And they've, just plastered it with vegan cheese. And I'm like, oh, I won't eat it. But the zero capsidi, I was like, is this what it's supposed to taste like? Because it doesn't taste cheesy. It was just delicious.
And then you have to verify it with the cheese eaters. And then they're like, oh my God, it's actually.
It was amazing. Okay, so I like it. Mighty Kitchen, it's a great name. So I think I first came across your brand. I can't remember if I bought it in a supermarket but I remember definitely trying it, not for the first time, but the second time, being so impressed at the Vegan Fan Fest.
Yeah, we've become a bit of a an attraction there in a nice way.
In a nice way. So, and my eldest, who does eat chicken, was like, oh yeah, I want to have that. And then her friends and everyone was just like, yeah, they loved it. And it's just such a great, everything about it is good. So
it's cool. And I like, you mentioned Vegan Fan, but I love, so for us, going back again, like we started the company, I had already been vegan. I already had like my favorite places, my favorite events, both here and abroad. And for me, the process became really fun fitting ourselves into that. So I went to the first Vegan Fam, which was rammed. We were saying, should we go down? Is there going to be a lot of people? Of course, we were going to go, but we were just questioning. So we ended up turning up and it was rammed the first time. And then we created Mighty, I think, by the second year. So I was like, I want us to be at Vegan Farm. And then talking with Anastasia,
I think we were next to each other. I think our stands were next to each other. Because I think it was, again, maybe it was the first one we attended, but we didn't have food as a hotel. And then we went with burgers. And I remember the queue was just insane.
And it's cool because people, that's what I said, like with we usually go with the gyro because it's a gateway product. People are familiar with gyro, so they have expectations, which we try to meet. And then they come and they're like, oh my, and it's like you said, that usually the effect is a friend will get a friend or a sibling will get this. And it's cool. I mean, it's all about people trying. And I always say, like, we're an option company. We're not, I love the idea of everyone turning vegan, but we're not there we're trying to give options for whether you want to ditch meat a couple of times a week, once a month, or like now, throughout the whole fasting period. We're there for you whenever you want us. Like we want to provide like a suitable high protein option for you.
So at the moment, what products do you have? You've got the nuggets, you've got the chicken strips.
The core range is like the tender, the breaded tenders. We have the plain strips, which are quite like, that was our kind of as a company, the mandate we wanted to create and bring out was this. It didn't really exist on the market at the time, was like a plain strip so that you can take and use like you would chicken. That's the analog. So it's high protein, 24 grams of protein, low saturated fat. Calories are similar to chicken breast, between a chicken breast and a thigh. So we have the plain strip, we have the pre-flavored gyro. So we have the gyro, the Greek style gyro. Then we have the meatballs, which it's the only product on the packaging. We actually label it as Cypriot meatballs because it's a bit of a fusion between the kefte and a plant-based meatball. So we wanted to bring that out. And now, like you mentioned, we have a range of sauces coming out. We have a couple of other meat analog products coming out, which we're going to announce pretty soon. But it's going in a direction now where it's becoming the kitchen, right? So we have we didn't have a falafel product because we felt it was done, but then we got a lot of response rate from customers saying, we like this stuff, so can you make this for us? And it's expanding, outward. So it's cool.
Yeah.
And we have good relations. Like the reason why we also have this, like we're essentially, we're a food technology company, but we remember that the relationship side is a food company, right? So we employ, like our sales team are chefs and they speak with other chefs and we get this feedback loop going and we get, comments on how they would like a product and this all gets pumped in and eventually we bring out stuff that people are, really passionate about rather than trying to fit something into a space where we're, much more unsure about. So that's been cool.
So tell me a bit about the tech side. What technology are you using? How do you make it? When we say plant-based, how processed is it? What's going into your products?
So when we say technology, it's funny, right? So we have even your favorite biscuit company, has a lab that people freak out with like plant-based. Oh my God. And again, I have no also issue trying and there's lab grown cell-based kind of products as well. When that comes out and is mainstream, I have no issue because I also understand the process, but it's not, people confuse us sometimes. So they're like, oh my God, did you get approval for it? And it's like, guys, we don't use anything in the product that's not EU approved for the last 20 years. The funny thing is that, when was it? I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, chia seeds went through a harder EU approval process because it was a product coming in from outside the EU at the time than our pea protein or our wheat protein or our potato starch. So it's like this. Like,
because I've seen your ingredients. It is plant-based. It's pea protein
and it's not what's it called, like whole lentils either. Like, we're not trying to take you away from your plate of lentils and olive oil. What we always say is we target, like, our main competitor is factory farm chicken, which is 65 to 70% of the world's protein, or the world's chicken. So it's like, on one side you have protein extraction process and a high heat kind of process, which kind of turns your, these ingredients into a texture that matches chicken. On the other side, you have an acceptable rate of hormones, antibiotics,
not exactly
an allowance of fecal contamination. So it's your trade-off. So that's what we're competing against.
And then how do you compete price-wise? Because it's tough. Because obviously the meat industry is so heavily subsidized. Not because if you.
I know, and a lot of people, it's good you say, because a lot of people don't know this is like what, but again,
that's
the
why
consumer
it's cheap.
cares about.
That's why you can get your chicken breast or chicken legs for only a few euros and you have to pay more for something else because it's subsidized.
Do you remember this a while ago when early movie Cowspiracy came out? When they were talking about the cost of production of a Big Mac in the States was $13 and the cost to consumer is $6. And people were like, how does that work? It's because land is subsidized, because animal husbandry is subsidized, and then it keeps getting knocked down. And you're actually paying for it with tax, but because it's not visible in the transaction, you don't think about it in that sense. So we're getting there. It's one of the missions of the whole industry is price parity, because we don't want, and it sounds funny, but we don't want an exclusive product. It's one of my things when I went vegan as well at the beginning. One of the things I spotted was in all groups, not in vegan groups, in all groups, everyone's trying to create these little exclusive niches where it's like, you can come, but you can't. We don't want, like, for us, the movement's like, oops, I'm going to knock your microphone. I told you I'd use my hand. But the idea is accessibility. It's inclusive, not exclusive, right? So we're pushing towards that. If we look at the price per kilo, 3 years ago, it was more than it is today. I think in a couple of years' time that there are maybe some brands in some parts of the world that are getting there. We need a little bit more time. But we're close. Like, we're not far, especially for in food service, like hotels, restaurants, cafes. we're very close now. In some markets, we're only single-digit percentage points off now, and that has to do also with the price of meat increasing in many markets, and for us trying to keep it stable because again, we want accessibility. We don't want to price people out of being able to use
because,
it. So,
we can tempt people as much as we want, but at the end of the day, if they have to pay 10 euros for something and they can get the meat alternative for 4, they're not going to go for it.
Well, 100%. We saw that at there's an expo in the UK, and we were speaking to students, and they tried, and they're, oh my God, that's nice. And we said, oh, this is your first time plant-based? And they said, no, we buy, the supermarket brand from. I said, oh, why'd you buy the supermarket brand? And it's cheap, and it makes 100% sense. As you're a student, you're looking for and this was also studies consistent for the last 4 or 5 years, right? What are the primary driving factors for purchasing food and plant-based as well? And it was taste, price, and convenience. And funnily enough, health was, I think about 4 years ago, it was 7th, 8th. It's every year. It's like coming up a point now. And it might have even gone 3rd now in their study, but it's definitely top 4 now. So all these things come together, but if you can't afford it and you can't find it, you can't have any of those secondary factors.
So where are you now? Where are you on the shelves? Like, can people find you easily, not just in Cyprus, but abroad?
Yeah, so we're in 4 markets at the moment. We're in Cyprus, Greece, the UAE, and UK. In Cyprus, I mean, I don't, again, the listener base of it is mainly here. I mean, supermarkets almost everywhere, apart from one of them, which we're pushing into now. I mean, like pretty much anywhere you go, you'll be able to find us. We're in a lot of restaurants and chains and stuff like that as well. In the UK, we're actually a lot in food service. So gyro as well. Like if you go in the UK and you look for a plant-based gyro and we're not there, tell them to get in touch and we'll put it there, because we're doing really well over there with that. And then just in general, Greece and the UAE is more retail focused as well. But we're working on getting, the right products to the right places now. And we're in that phase as a company where we are growing and actively looking for, new opportunities and placements. So,
and how big is your team? Because when you started off, it was you and your wife?
Actually, it was a common misconception. My wife and my co-founder are 2 separate people.
Okay.
So
that's all right. That's okay. Funny. It happens in life, but yeah.
So it was, me and my wife were at the stage of like, okay, let's think of a name. Let's. She always claims the role of chief taste tester, right? She's tried every version, even from version 1, where we were experimenting with. We used we used lentil protein at the beginning. We were trying to use lentil protein, and lentil protein's quite. It's probably good actually for a cheese because it's quite sticky and it's gooey, and you can get different textures. But I remember the first time we made the product, and we were like, oh my God, to our friends, and I've try this. Doesn't it taste like? And I was so invested in it. I was like, doesn't it taste like chicken? And everyone was like, I felt they wanted to put their arm around and be like, look, it's nice.
It tastes good, but it's not chicken.
And then I was like, okay, thanks for the feedback. And we go through and the iterations and so on, and we get to where we are today. But with Luisa, co-founder Luisa, we started together. It was the 2 of us. And then slowly over the years, we grew the team a bit. We're still only 9 people. I mean,
it's not only, that's still, I mean, that's a good size.
Yeah, it's I guess for where we are now. But I mean, in terms of what we want to do, we'd love to grow up, but it's a gradual process, right? We're maxing out everyone's skills and capabilities, and then growing as we go along.
And where do you see yourself in like 5 years' time?
Look, we want to be, if not the number 1, like a top 3 option for plant-based, not only plant-based protein, specialized plant-based vegan products, and also we're seeing a little bit of interest in the service side as well. So it's right conversation I have like on a, if not daily, weekly basis. Okay, you go into a place, there's a lot of goodwill from restaurants, hotels, and so on to get an option on the menu, but they're like, at some point they're like, this is 3 to 5% of my menu. Why do I need to? I have an option. I have a spring roll. I have a veggie burger. I have a something. And it's like, look, the expectations of your consumer are rising. It's not, and we always say this, like, it's not necessarily to please like me as your vegan consumer. It's because like by default, like it or not, me or my wife or yourself, like you dictate where the group goes. Now,
That's what I always say. The minority leads the majority
and
in
that's
case of
because of your
restaurants.
friends are like, oh, I can eat anything. What does
Where do
George
you
want?
go?
Yeah, what does
Yeah,
Farah
where
want?
can
What
you
does
go? Exactly. So
and
if you're 10 people, everyone will be like, look, we're happy with whichever restaurant we go
yeah,
to. But at the end of the day, where does the vegan in the group
yeah,
where can they eat?
yeah.
So if they go somewhere and there's a good option, then you are selling. So when you look at the menu engineering, and I always say this to not just our teams, other people, look at it and you might say, yeah, but I sold 100 steaks and I only sold 10 of 10 of these, whatever, chicken tenders, vegan chicken tenders. Yeah, but you sold the 100 steaks because you sold those 10.
Look at what your ticket is buying. So if you have like a vegan dish and it comes, like you said, with 6 steaks, that ticket was probably going to go somewhere else if you didn't have a good option. And it's hard because, again, it's like, show me the debt. Like, let me run a pilot with you and we can have a look at the debt. What were you selling before and what you're selling now? But for the vision of where we are and where we're going, it's like we have a lot of customers that it's a small part of the menu. We try to convince them. There are others that are like, this is what I would do. What would you do? And because our sales team are chefs, they sit with them and they say, look, this is nice. This is very standard. Like, we can help you. And as part of the onboarding process, we'll sit and if they want, again, it's like very like chef driven. So if they say like, let's do a few recipes together and we'll see what we like. And that's how we're going about our business. So just being the number one option as a company when you want to add something, change something, create something for your menu as a restaurant, hotel, like anyone in Horeca, is a big part of what we're doing. Of course, we have the retail. For us, it's a bit different. We started food service first, because we felt that was where the opportunity was. Although it's a little bit more laborious, it's where like we got the most traction early on, and retail is kind of piggybacked on that. And because we just have a bunch of like, new interesting products coming to retail as well, we'll eventually, branch out into more retail.
And when you say like one of the top, do you mean in Cyprus? Do you mean in Europe? Do you mean
we never talk about Cyprus only because I it's arguably one of the best places to start a business. But my previous companies we started a company out in Denmark. We were like Europe facing. We started a company in the States. We were looking at the world. Doesn't matter where we always say this because I do a lot of like early stage entrepreneurship work. Cyprus should be viewed as an amazing place to start business and as a city in, like, if you were in the States, let's say like Cyprus to London is New York to San Francisco to LA. Yeah. So you look at it in those gaps. Your market is outward facing. In most cases, you don't have to be limited by, even for us, we're a product company. Mm-hmm. We don't need to be limited by the space. And I think it's just I just have so much confidence in what we're doing that I think we have to look outwardly in order to do the best job we possibly can. So, yeah.
Amazing. So tell us about you. Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
Yeah. I grew up I was born in the UK, and it's funny, everyone's like London, no, Western Superman. So I was born in a little town just outside of Bristol. Grew up there from Cypriot parents. Like my grandfather was the immigrant story, 50s, went with $5 in his pocket, worked in chip shops, built up to the point where he could rent his own space, had his own restaurant. Then that kind of story. And we grew up there, and that was actually in Bristol. And then he moved the family, his son, my dad, down to Western, where, he ended up meeting my mom. And then we grew up there.
Is your mom Cypriot as well?
Yeah. Mom was actually living over here when they met. So it wasn't like she grew up there. Yeah, they met, went over there, and so on. Born there, I have a brother and a sister. We all moved, I say back, but we moved to Cyprus when I was 18. They moved a couple of years later and ended up going. I actually, when I was younger, I wanted to play pro sports. So my thing here was I came over first of all for football. So I was playing football here, and then
who were you playing with?
I was playing for Ethnikos Athens back then. And my deal with my mum was like, if I didn't think I was going to go pro sports, I would go to uni. So like that was always she let me do my thing, and then she was like, "Are
And
you
so
not
what
gonna?"
happened? So you did the
And I
sports
went
or
to
you
uni.
went to uni?
I ended up going to uni, but I ended up also doing on
We're
a
back to mothers,
yeah,
wives. We're
yeah,
always right. You know, what can we
well, no,
do?
and look, I appreciate it was always the option, right? So it's like I back you, I support you,
Yeah.
but if not, you do this. And then in the end, with football, ended up paying for like chunks of my scholarship. So I
Okay, yeah,
used
yeah.
it worked for
You see,
something.
Mum?
Yeah. That was my little thing. She was like, just go study. And
And where did you study?
I studied so I actually did college in the UK, and then I did University of Nicosia when it was
Okay.
inter college back there.
Yeah.
And so I was there. I loved it. Moved back down, moved to Larnaca afterwards, ended up met my wife in a job that I took to pay off for a loan for a business that I started too early. If that makes
Yeah,
sense. So it's like,
yeah.
they say
But
out of
meant to
mistakes,
be.
make the
Yeah.
grew up there. I mean, since then, married, 3 kids, 2 dogs,
Oh,
started multiple businesses, like whilst being in that, relationship as well. So
yeah. Tip, tip, tip. Living
it's,
the dream.
yeah,
You got
well,
a station wagon as
just
well.
we actually recently, I say that last year we bought, so Anna, my wife, she's like, she goes, I don't care about how it looks. She's like, we need space. And I said, I don't care
Yeah.
how it looks. And we got this Nissan Serena that's like 8,
Amazing.
9 seater.
Amazing. You
And
see?
people like, how many kids? I said, look, I have 3 kids, I
I
have
hope you've
two
got some
dogs,
Wellington boots as well, like leftover
everything,
from England.
biggest
Yeah.
like increase quality of life, like upgrade ever, like just having that space to
That's
put
so
everyone in.
cute.
Yeah.
And why did you go vegan?
So the beginning story. So my brother was the first one, and
Oh, I love it when it goes to the wider family. Okay, is he
yeah,
older, younger?
younger.
Okay.
And so my brother's really like we used to after football dinner we gym a lot, we do sports together and stuff.
Mhm.
And he was like, we were really into obviously self-improvement, trying to figure out ways that we could optimize, hack the body, and he started fasting before Christmas properly,
Mm.
because we always used to do the last week, the last few days.
Yeah.
And then he goes, I'm going to fast. I said, okay, cool, good for you. And he said, after 2, 3 weeks, it's like, I'm not just eating bread, I'm doing it properly. And I feel like my recovery time is better after gym. I said, okay, good for you. I was just like, and then at Christmas, I remember the scene, like the Christmas day that he lasted 40 days before Christmas. And then it was him
He came out
sitting.
ripped.
No, not. It's not one of these. No, it'd be like, oh, before he was a
Yeah,
slob, and then
yeah.
he was in good shape. He stayed and maintained his shape, but he sat at the end of the family table, because it was only salad,
Yeah.
potatoes, and stuff. What is there for Andrea? He sits there. And for me, it's like and then he dragged my cousin along with him, younger cousin as well. So he started getting into it. And at some point when people I respect and love are doing things and they're not overly pitching it to me, they're just like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to get sucked into, at least read and
Yeah.
understand and then dismiss or approve in my own head. And so I did. And I was like, this is really interesting. Because at the beginning, when Andrea was doing it, I was like, animals die anyway. There's no point. You can't get enough
Yeah.
protein. I was like, all this stuff. So I was
The
wired like
typical,
that.
yeah.
And so afterwards, after Christmas, I started cutting out meat a couple of times a week. And then I started 3 times a week. And then but within 6 months, I ditched meat completely. And then my wife was actually vegetarian for 8 years before she met me.
Mm.
And we met over souvlaki sheftalia, right? And so when I was doing this, she was like, that makes sense to me. I did this before. I didn't eat meat so then she cut out and we started doing it together. And then fish went. And then so I did it over the course of
Yeah,
6 month
slowly,
periods
yeah. Which is
where I
better
cut
for your body
everything.
anyway, yeah.
I felt good. I started seeing this. And it's funny because this is a conversation when every interaction I have, okay, and I say I'm vegan, people are like, no, I could never do that. I'm like, there is no way you are a bigger meat eater than I was, that I used to eat everything like everything. I used to order souvlaki 4 times a week. I'd go into Alfamera and buy 300 grams of tuna and salmon raw and just cut an avocado and I would eat everything, man. And because I just got invested in that process of like, okay, there's a bit of selfishly at the beginning, but I remember after 9, 10,
yeah.
that was my initial push.
Mm-hmm.
But the part where the animal welfare side kind of hit me is like, I have 2 dogs. They're 11 years old. And they're called Bear and Peanut, and you mentioned if they hear the podcast. So they're mixed labs. And when Bear, like my black and beige, black lab lies down, he lies down in a way where he's fully extended and stretched out. And I was driving past the butchers, and I see the pigs like that. I'm like, oh fuck, it looks like bear. Sorry.
Yeah.
And it hit me in that moment. And then again, research. I was like, what's the average IQ of a pig and a dog? Can they feel emotions? And it sucked
And the
me in
pig is
because
cleverer.
higher IQ, able to
Yeah.
form friendships, family bonds, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And it sounds silly. So someone like a majority of your audience will probably think that I knew this, and all of us at that time maybe didn't.
I don't know if everyone does, or even if they do, they don't want to acknowledge it. So it's really easy to validate what you're doing.
Yeah.
And
this isn't a hardcore preach for me. It was just like my own kind of discovery process was like that. And I'll admit at the beginning when all this information was and I realized this, I was a bit maybe intense in the first few months around my friend groups. Did you know? And then you start realizing that actually everyone is kind of on a similar path. You almost deliberately shield yourself from the uncomfortable stuff. So example of this, I told you, somebody sent me an article about something about coffee a few years ago, saying the unsustainability of coffee. And I was like, la, 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 because if I get into it and I cut out, like that was my choice to try and ignore. Like, I don't know if there's validity or not, but I mean, I was just trying to protect myself from like not having to ditch.
And people become very defensive because it's what they know. And I think it's more deep rooted than that because it's what our parents taught us.
It's our identity.
So when people are like, oh, but what you're eating is wrong, then it's not just your choice. You're like, that was my parent. My parents drummed that into me and their parents drummed that into them. So you're telling me that my dad's wrong, my mom's wrong. Like, who are you? And suddenly the chest puffs out and people get very upset.
But you know what's funny about that is that everyone, including us, do that for other subjects. So we're like, oh, my dad was so hard on me. I'm not going to be that parent. So you're making a change where you've come to the realization, but food's incredibly, I'll say this, it's incredibly difficult and it's very emotional. I mean, even with professionals, the pushback we get sometimes is just like, who are you to tell me? So I'm not, I'm just
suggesting.
Your customers may want, and it's okay. I mean,
yeah, definitely. And I mean, there's famous chefs around the world that said, I don't want vegans in my place. Like, it's like, okay, then, you miss out on that market or,
it's okay. Again, if you're not like, it's just one of those things. I understand some of the friction at the beginning, but I also think there's so many worse things, I mean, it's not.
He's the extremist as well. It's like, it's a big topic, but I think what you're doing is amazing. I was going to ask you, how do you see like all the, from the tech side and the industry that you're in? I mean, you mentioned lab grown meat. There's, 3D printing now. There's just so much going on that is amazing. And the industry is changing so rapidly and it's really exciting. Have you seen any tech coming out that you're like, wow, like watch this space. This is going to revolutionize how we eat.
There's interesting stuff, but I think for me it's always, and our space kind of proves this, that there's a balance between, at the end of the day, it's food. So if I tell you that similar machinery is used to produce like Cheerios 50 years ago than what we produce our product on now, it's not too dissimilar. It's just used for a different purpose in a different way.
I'm pretty sure what you're producing is healthier than Cheerios.
I'm just saying.
I'm like everyone.
But for example, and I can use other things. I can use pasta. I can use the method is very similar. But it's not about. It's also about the production and education side because we're in food. So if you can make the absolute best thing in the world, and if somebody's not willing to give it a try, as such, it's gonna like fall on deaf ears. So it's just that balance.
But in studies, they have proven that, let's say processed, or it's mildly processed, plant-based alternatives to meat. Let's say if there's three different scales, so there's the green light food, the amber light, and the red light, and things that you're making, for example, are in the amber. So it's not. I mean, we're not supposed to eat them 3 times a day. But when you do want that taste, it's okay. It's like it's healthy. It's a treat.
Proven.
It's not like eating an apple.
Exactly.
But it's still and the red light that is like don't touch are the red meat, the processed meats. So if you have a choice of one of your products, or even a Beyond or Impossible, or a normal burger, by far, yours is the healthier option.
It absolutely depends on, again, all burgers aren't equal.
Yeah.
So there are, and again, like taking away my, animal kind of welfare side, I say there is meat that you will eat that's absolutely okay and probably not going to do anything as part of a balanced diet. There's other products that you eat which are absolutely terrible, but it's how willing are you to acquire the knowledge where you can separate those. And so for us, again, we're an ingredient, right? So it would be silly in the same way that when I ate meat,
someone plasters it with mayo.
but
and,
exactly.
Yeah.
But that's exactly it. You can take our chicken strips, you can cut your wok, fried vegetables, you can make your udon noodles, bit of soy sauce, and it's like amazingly healthy meal. You can get it and you can deep fry the crap of it. You can put your panko on it. You can, like you said, mayo, get all the sauces in the world, and suddenly it's 1,200 calories and it's half your daily allowance as an athlete, and it doesn't work. So we're an ingredient. If you want something, we work with customers who have us at the burger shop, and they have like the breaded tenders as a dipping box. On a Friday night, I'm probably going to order like 8 of those and just have them with my burger on the side. On a Monday evening, Tuesday evening, I'm going to go the other way and do my noodle box. And so this is what we're trying to encourage. Like we're an options company. We want people we'd love to have people integrate into part of like living a better lifestyle for themselves, but that's their choice.
And it's better for the planet, everyone. Yeah. That's why Beyond and Impossible have done so well around the world. And because that's the aim of a lot of the companies that produce alternatives to meats, is that, even for the people who are still having their salmon and their chicken and their burgers, but at least one of their meals a week or 2 or 3 will be these alternatives, which needs a lot less water, a lot less energy. The carbon footprint is so much lower. It's better for you, better for the planet, and just better for the animals. So that's you're being very PC, but I'm like, just do it. Okay, so what's your favorite quote? I ask everybody this.
You said, I remember when you said this about quote or mantra or something. So I have one thing that I hammered on about for years, and it's like it's basically principle over preference. Right. So, and I write it as like a greater than sign. It's like my thing that principles take time to develop, to nurture, to kind of sit in your mind, and they're not easy to change. And you have to really question yourself if you're trying to weave in or out of a situation that forces you to even like slightly alter your principle. Whereas preferences are just responsive, reactive in the moment, and they're so easy to do, like, I just feel like this today, or I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go to the gym, or I'm not.
Path of least resistance.
For me, it's principle over preference, always. Yeah,
I love that. Right, bonus question.
Oh, is it?
This is not from me. So the team at St. Raphael Resort, they all get to write a question and put it in this crystal ball. So we'll see what you got.
Ooh. If you had to describe yourself using only 3 words, what would they be? This is from Natalie Mealing or
Mealing, yeah.
If you had to describe yourself using only 3 words, what would they be? You're going to need to edit this. I'm going to need like 3 seconds.
Don't worry. It's a tough one. We get tough questions.
I'm trying to find the right word. I say that when people, like any kind of interaction you have with me, I think you'll get honesty from me, and not that kind of brash, put you on the spot honesty. I mean, I'm very transparent in that sense. Authentic, bravo, that's a nice word. Thank you, you're helping me. As a authentic, I would say driven. And I would say, I don't know, either passionate or thinker, one of the two. Like, I don't know which one, but I'd say those two.
Passionate and driven,
probably crossover. Yeah.
But it's still
something that's a good. Okay, if it was 2, I would have like settled.
Yeah, and maybe just a good person.
Yeah, I'd like to think. I mean, that's for others to judge, but it's just
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to cooking on stage with you at the Amara Hotel this Friday. Do you know what you're making, or can you not say?
Well, I think we're also trying to draw some inspiration from we saw some of your sneak peek of some of your recipes. So
Yes.
we might marry some
please
bits
do.
over
Please do.
there. I think there's a few things. There's a bao that the guys are looking at. There are some. So there's
We're
so
gonna
many
have
things you can do.
fun.
So
Yeah,
and
so it's going to be us. It's executive chef of Amara. It's the master chef, coming over from America.
yeah, it's going to be fun.
So,
Anything with food's always fun.
We'll have fun on stage. And I don't know how they're going to set it up with enough space for us to cook.
Mm.
And as I said, I would have just come back from London, literally straight from the airport. So I'm
Same
just going
day.
to, like, same moment. I'm flying in just in enough time to, like, get from Larnaca.
Time's good though. You'll be hungry.
Well, I'm just exhausted, so I'm probably going to be on stage with, like, black eyes and, like, and just making. But we'll have fun.
Yeah,
we'll have fun, and I think we're all cooking with your ingredients with Mighty Kitchen, so it'll be nice because I think there's like 4 different stations, so we'll see what we make. For us,
it's always cool just to see what people. Like I said, we're in ingredients, so when every interaction we have with people, it's like we learn about stuff that they're like, oh, we'll put this kind of sauce, or I use it in this way. And it's like, okay,
and
cool,
just like the audience, just to interact with them, share with them what we're making, why.
Yeah,
it'll be fun.
It will.
All the best.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me.
I'll see you very soon, and best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button because it helps us more than you may realize. If you are planning on coming to visit us at St. Raphael Resort and Marina, feel free to email our reservations team quoting Hotel Talk and receive an exclusive offer just for you. We look forward to seeing you soon, hearing your feedback about our show, and producing many, many more interesting episodes just for you, our listener, and our valued guest in mind. Thank you so much, and take care.